Produced by Podcast Architects.
Hi, I'm Libby Kane with Extraco Banks, and thank you for joining us today on the LINC Up Podcast with two of our favorite female entrepreneurs in the Waco area. We have Kelsey Baas, owner of Compleo Physical Therapy and Wellness. She is also a 2019 Extrapreneur finalist and also a member of Extraco's LINC Business Advisory Council. And then we have Lorraine Gritten, who's owner of Champions Salon Barber, a 2019 Extrapreneur finalist, as well as our 2021 Extrapreneur winner, and also a member of our LINC Business Advisory Council. Thank you both so much for being here today. We really are excited to kind of hear your story.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
So I'm just going to open the floor with that. I would love to hear just kind of initially what your entrepreneur journey was, why you wanted to start your business. We'll start with you, Lorraine.
Well, when you asked me what do I want to do to start my business or why I didn't really know. I was just so young that by the age of 21, I was a barber, and I just knew that I wanted to be my own boss. So to do that, I had to learn a lot. I didn't get to go to college, and so my journey has been through the school of hard knocks. It's like I like to say that because I had to learn from all the trials and tribulations of what worked and what didn't work. And so everything just challenged me. So I early on had a mindset of, honestly, a setback is a comeback. And so every time I had a setback, I just came back stronger. And I never had any fears of failing because it wasn't an option. So I just kept moving on through what I had to do to make it work. And obviously some things worked out great.
Yeah, great. How about you, Kelsey?
I think I'm the opposite of a lot of people. I never had this huge drive to I'm going to be my own boss. I joke that the only class I did not pay attention to in grad school was the physical therapy business management class. I think in my group's business plan, I was the janitor or the tech because it was never a huge goal of mine to own a business. And then after working 5 years in a major medical system that I absolutely loved, and learned a ton from, I really just saw this pull, both in providers getting to provide the quality of care that they really wanted to provide, and really from a time perspective with patients. And then secondly, and more importantly, I saw a need in Waco, but then I also saw a need in these big systems of females not getting to practice and take care of their families the way they wanted to. And I wanted to create an environment where providers weren't choosing their career or their families, where they could really integrate both and serve entire families in the way that they should be served. And kind of landed into something I never really dreamed I'd be doing, but couldn't be happier. Never tell God your plans, he'll change them.
Right.
Well, I love that. There's one of Extraco's corporate values is family first. And I feel like both of your businesses are very family oriented. Do you want to talk? I mean, you've touched on it just a little bit, but you want to talk about that a little bit about how you kind of live that through with your staff?
Yeah, it's really a huge passion of mine. And I think it comes out in their work because they're all happier and a little bit less stressed. We don't dictate any of our staff schedules. So the moms we have lots of new moms, so they get as many pump breaks as they want. We have moms who start super early so they can be with their kids by 2. We have moms who come in a little later and have help in the afternoons and work in the afternoon. So I think the biggest thing is letting, and dads too, our entire staff set their schedules. I know not every industry can have that flexibility, but that's something we have, and trusting that they want to be there and want to work and kind of putting that in their court. And I think that's the biggest thing. And then really on a personal level, just getting to know their families, giving grace if there's something big going on, just managing from a human perspective.
I love that. And Lorraine, with y'all are very much focused on building families, I feel like, especially with the school portion of Champions.
Yeah, we own Champions Barber and Beauty Academy, and there's a lot of struggles that go on at the school. I mean, we have to be very empathetic to their needs, but still having obviously the flexibility for the school. they're paying to come get the education at the school. So we always, give grace as well too. But when it comes to our professionals at our professional locations, we let them dictate their dream schedule, and we just make sure that we have enough staff to accommodate all the service providers get to pick their schedule, their dream schedule, but we just got to make sure we cover the hours that we're open for our clients. Mm-hmm. So, and then always being closed on Sundays. That's just one thing that we're never going to open. And even though our business is being ran kind of like a franchise, concept, where everybody's a commission and employees, which is very rare in our industry. But we do things as if we are. We do give paid vacations and PTOs and time off. And we're very empathetic, on a daily basis. My husband, he takes care of the HR, and so he has a lot of empathy. And so, we just always make it work, and we have a good team that always fill in or help out. So, but the balance of work and life and home and family is very important to us.
So I wonder, is family kind of part of the impetus for when y'all started your business? And I just wonder if that's maybe part of what, in general, for female entrepreneurs, and I don't know if y'all talk to other women entrepreneurs and that's kind of part of the reason why they started their business, or
for me it definitely it was huge. And we didn't have my son yet when we started it, but we were more preparing for what do we want life to look like when hopefully that day does come. And really, regardless if I had ever had children when I started it, I just wanted to serve families in a different way. And our clinic really does I worked at a children's hospital, and I would get so sad when these moms would come in so stressed, or parents would bring their kids to their appointments. And they'd be like, oh, my back really hurts. I don't have time to take care of it. And so seeing this kind of disjointed, like, well, adults can go here and kids can go here. Treating family was the impetus for creating a clinic that brought together those two world. So I think initially it was more to serve families. Mm-hmm. And then now that I have a child, that's now like my biggest motivation to keep it going that way.
That's cool.
So I'm kind of curious, as a woman-owned business, what kind of challenges have y'all faced that maybe you didn't anticipate? Or that maybe I'll say challenges and opportunities. Maybe let's do both.
We'll start with you first.
I'm going to say, obviously, being a barber for 39 years. It's being just a female in the barber world was always really a struggle. I had to always prove myself and be more. And I think that's what I strive to be an entrepreneur, because I knew that I did have some disadvantages just because I was a female in that world. So creating jobs for people was something always inspired me. It was very challenging, but it just made me excited to help other people get what I had gotten by building a clientele. So the more that I saw them grow, I just kind of gave myself a pat on the back about, good job, because I saw them following the champion culture and get to where I was at to provide for my family. But really there wasn't a whole lot of disadvantages. I had some struggles, with some things that I was uneducated in, and I had to break some generational curses, just what I thought was right. I had to learn the hard way, and it just, I don't know if I had any disadvantages, but if I did have a lot, I just fought through them and just figured it out, or got some coaching through the time.
Lorraine is very tenacious. How about you, Kelsey?
I think it definitely brings opportunities and challenges. I'm glad you said opportunities also. I do think our culture is trying to raise awareness around female-owned business. I think some of the biggest challenges have been, it has been harder for me to get meetings with, potential referral sources that my male counterparts in town were able to easily get. I think it took a little bit longer for some other people in town to gain trust with me, whereas I think a male, they just trust the degree. And with me, I have the same degree, but they also needed to see me work first and make sure I wasn't going to quit as soon as I had a kid. I think there were assumptions that, she's doing great once she has her kids, she might stop. And then just a lot of assumptions. There's been a lot of assumptions that I show up and I treat the kids and my husband runs the business and he does not even know our QuickBooks login. Like I run the business side, the medical side, I run all of it. And so battling those assumptions, but at the same time, people have been open-minded to being corrected. And in the past year and a half, I think I've noticed a really big shift in that.
And you'd mentioned certification that you're working on at one of our LINC advisory councils that's specifically for, I think, female-owned businesses, or?
There is, you can become a female designated owned business, which is a huge opportunity. And if any female business owners are listening to this, they should look into that, because if you then try to go get contracts with bigger companies in town, they have to fulfill a certain quota of minority and female owned labor. And your contract could fill that. So if you take the time to look into getting designated as a female owned business, there's lots of grants and, contract opportunities that can come to you because of that. So yeah, that's definitely, I'm glad you brought that up.
Is that a state or national designation?
It's a national designation, but.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can find a link to include with this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned grants. And so I want to talk a little bit about the way that you all raise capital and fund your business, because that's always a topic when we're talking to, startups and new business owners. So I don't know who wants to go first, but I'd love to kind of hear your journey on that. Did you bootstrap or?
Pretty much that's my story. I would start out really small. I'll never forget my first shop at the age of 21. I really only had like $500 and like nothing. Right. And so I would just keep putting the money back in. And that was just what drove me to keep going, to be bigger and bigger. And then once I felt like I maxed out, I would just sell it. So I think there's like 3 hair salons in Hewitt that I owned at one time, and then a day spa and wellness center. And then I just would sell them. And then I would start over and create a different culture. And so we're staying put with the champion culture and growing that, obviously. But, for me, I was just pouring back in. I would make some, put it back in, make some, put it back in, put it back in. And that's what I would do. And then I would grow staff and network. I would do so back in the day. And I was on the Hewitt Chamber of Commerce, the board of directors, networking, because how we network now with social media, it's so different than how I used to do it back in the day, but that's what we had to do, just I never got a loan. I never had to get any money from anybody. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's what worked.
You're fully funded. I mean, we've heard that before.
No debt. Yeah, we have no debt.
Abby and Amari Head with Head Hospitality, I think they're fully funded. I think they just took out their first loan recently, but How about you, Kelsey?
We kind of did a combination of things. We looked into the more traditional SBA and loan route, and we decided to not go with a big loan to start and to go start smaller. The amount we needed to start for the amount of time it takes to get an SBA loan and get all that approval just didn't really make sense for us. And so I had been working for a while, so a lot of it we did ourselves. And then we did take a family loan that we are very grateful to have been able to pay back. My biggest advice to people is, if you're going to go that route, make sure you still treat it as a formal agreement and that you don't take advantage of that. But really, we bootstrapped it. We started a little bit smaller, I think, than where we are now. And we started smaller than our ultimate picture so that we didn't jump into a ton of debt and it not work out, and then just grew naturally from there and have self-funded any expansion since.
And let me add to this. We both have been expanding we're neighbors out in Woodway. And so she's been growing and took a space, and I took a space. So now we have
we're taking over Woodway Drive.
Yeah, Woodway Drive.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, speaking of expansions, what is on the roadmap for both of y'all's businesses for the future?
I just love the Waco and Central Texas community. And as our staffing has grown, I'm hoping that we can be big enough to really partner with different organizations in town to maybe serve some people who may otherwise have a difficult time utilizing or accessing our services, and just really find ways to make our services more accessible, whether that is we've created some online courses. We've started working in telehealth. So if someone in Hillsborough doesn't have transportation, they can still work with a dietitian or counselor. So just really ways to make it more accessible, whether that's from us going to people or working with bigger organizations to help fund treatment for people who might be uninsured. Just ways to really serve the greater Waco community.
That's great. How about you, Lorraine?
We're going to probably end up in Temple pretty soon. You know,
Okay.
we're watching the economy and making sure the timing is right. Right now we do have our hands full, but as we're growing future champions from our school, you know, Temple's just a hop and skip up the road, so that won't be really any problems. My daughter lives in the Weatherford, Lake Worth area, and I kind of feel like I'm supposed to be there. Hopefully she'll give me a grandbaby and I'll be up there with a business with her in her business.
Well, I have no doubt.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to happen. So
Awesome.
we have great managers that take care of the business. So, you know, I don't really go to them very often. I'm at the school a lot, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. That's
our future.
exciting.
Yeah.
So just as our wrap-up question, I would love for y'all to share maybe one tip or best practice that you wish you would have known when you were starting your business, or you wish someone would have told you that you might want to share with people listening today.
I think for me, just understanding how to communicate with people when building my team early on. I wish I would have had a little bit more understanding of how to be better leader. It took later in life to understand that I made some mistakes with people, and now it's fast forward to now. It does help me give more grace and empathy for people's situations where I might not have been that in my earlier days.
Mm.
So I just wish I would have known my leadership skills needed to be stronger for what I was doing at the time. And it was just easy to just sell and start over with new people. And that's not really the right way to go, I think. But I guess it worked for me.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, at Extraco, we very much have kind of this culture of you need to build yourself before you can build your team. And that's kind of what I'm hearing you say is like,
exactly.
you need to kind of take a step back and just make the time to really focus on you and getting, the skills that you need before you expand too much from a team perspective.
And especially when you're in an industry where people want to be their own bosses. You know, in my industry, people they want to have their own business, and to be able to keep them and understand, not to be a hypocrite. I do want them to grow and be an entrepreneur and have the things that they see and what we've achieved. So we like to help them and speak that over them, that go follow your dreams.
Awesome. All right. How about you, Kelsey?
So there's two things. It's hard to choose one.
It's fine.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the biggest thing, one, is not to be scared to do things differently. So many people told me, we've never seen your combination of services before. I don't know if that's going to work. And this hybrid insurance thing, like only taking some insurances, some not. And lots of people thought we wouldn't work just because we're not what every other medical clinic looks like. So don't be scared to do something different. Yeah. And the other biggest thing I've learned is don't bootstrap to the point where you're just taking no help. I mean, I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lot of things. And I was trying to do everything. And the month I hired, a receptionist and a bookkeeper, which was a scared financial leap at the time, was the month we started to take off. So let people help you. There's people you can't be good at everything. So bring people in who will help build up your weaknesses early on.
Well, I love that you brought that up because we have Extraco LINC,
Yes.
which is the whole business ecosystem of professional service providers for startups and small businesses, for specifically that HR, attorneys, tax, CPAs, accountants, all of those services that you may not be, an expert in, but you might want an expert in that. So would super encourage people to go to extracolink.com and take a look at our different partners that are out there, as well as all the different resources that we have on the website. We have templates, blogs, articles, lots of different things that you can download and just, educate yourself and then also connect with people that want to work with you. So another question that we get a lot of times from startups and small businesses is, when do you start to draw a salary? Should you start immediately, or do you want to wait? Because y'all both talked about being, kind of putting your funds back into the business. So were you taking a salary at that time as well, or kind of tell me, how your journey worked?
With my journey, I could always just add another day or add more hours, and I always had plenty of clients. So it was like, if I needed more money, I just worked harder, and so that was really easy. But I had struggled with that. That was a hard thing, and that was something that it took a while for me to learn, that I got to take care of home and I got to take care of business. So it was probably 50-50 from the get-go, but I was off balance for a little while. It took a little time for me to figure that out. Okay. So, but I would have loved to have something like Extraco and LINC to help me with some of the things that I struggled with. But yeah, how about for you?
I think this is kind of like the lending question. There's not really a right answer, and everyone has different personal circumstances. I did not take a salary at first. We saved some money. I was lucky enough to live with my parents while we were opening it. But pretty quickly I took a small salary. I probably didn't take what people would expect a physical therapist to be taking home until a couple years in, because we kept choosing to reinvest in the business. We'd get to these critical junctions. We go, well, we could keep growing, or I could take a higher salary. And we just kind of kept choosing to reinvest in staff and keep growing, which I think hopefully will pay off one day. I think you really just have to examine, your personal needs at home. I think it's very important to take home something, though. And someone told me that early on when I was just not giving myself anything. And they were like, even if it's really small, you need some sort of reward for what you're doing. And so I started paying myself, and it did make it a little easier to keep going each day. But we were the opposite. We waited a little longer for me to decide to do that. So
that's great. Y'all both kind of worked in your industry before you started a business in your industry. I kind of like, how long did either of y'all do that, or both of y'all do that? So,
well, my story is a little unique because my mom went to barber school, and I had my license by the time 1985. I was 16 and a half. So yeah, I had a little time from 16 and a half to 21. But I grew up I did things more, faster than my other classmates and stuff in high school. But while people were, doing minimum wage jobs, I was the one that already had a degree in something. And so for me, I don't know. I just did it. I don't know where else go with that.
I worked for a little over 4 years at a major system, which this is also industry specific, but at least in the healthcare world, I tell everyone coming out, you should go work somewhere first, because you need to really hone your craft first. And whatever world you're in, learning to hone your craft and run a business at the same time is a lot. And so if you really kind of have your craft down, then you can free up some brain space for the business side.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for your time today. This has been great. Always love talking to you. Best of luck with your businesses.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Produced by Podcast Architects.